in the United States is a relatively young, but nevertheless growing motorsport attraction. As yet, it doesn't have the manufacturer, the media, nor indeed the massive spectator interest one normally associates with European rallies. That, however, is all set to change, for the one thing that they do have is enthusiasm. The enthusiasm to get an American rally into the prestigious World Championship Series. The principal event in the United States at the moment is the Rally Week Northwest, a rather unique concept introduced into the American calendar by organising Supremo John Nagel. Up until 1983, there had been two separate rallies held in the forest area near the Washington state capital, Olympia. These were the National NorWester Rally and the larger International Olympus Rally. By running the events on consecutive weekends, John reckoned that a better entry would be received, more publicity would be generated for the sport, and the organisational talents could be combined to the benefit of both events. That this concept works is beyond doubt. The task ahead of John and his team for the future, however, is to develop the Olympus Rally to World Championship standards. Let us begin our look at rallying American style with the NorWester National Pro Rally. Although the rally headquarters for both events are at the Tyee Inn, formalities actually start at the Tumwater High School garage the day before the rally. Crews sign on and their cars are scrutineered to ensure they conform to the stringent safety requirements laid down by the organisers. The Audi Quattro of Bruno Krajbic lends a touch of European-style class to the event. Cars in the main are different from those normally found on the European rally scene. This large Oldsmobile Omega, driven by Guy Light, is a typical example. A more conventional car is Alan Carter's Mazda RX-7. The New Zealander is an ex-British rally champion, now resident in California. BF Goodrich are major supporters of rallying in America, their range of standard road tyres being used by the majority of teams. Goodrich believe in proving their product via the competitive field of motorsport. After all, if their tyres are good enough for rallying, then they must be more than good enough for everyday motoring. Saturday afternoon, and the rally start in the shadow of the beautiful Capitol building in Olympia. The cars are lined up on the lakeside as the band plays. Crews relax, and the crowds enjoy the pre-event atmosphere. Leading crews away is reigning US champion John Buffum, and despite taking some of the flags and bunting with him, is in a relaxed and confident mood. The first stage is a short affair that served little purpose really, particularly as each car had to complete the stage before the next one could start, as the stage route crossed itself. As a spectator venue, it was perhaps acceptable, but surely the spectators would prefer to see rally cars in their true environment, the forests. As crews wait in the spring sunshine to tackle the stage, they know they have one more spectator stage ahead of them at the Washington State Patrol test track, which offers an unusual hazard. The forest complex west of Shelton is where the real meat of the rally is to take place, with over 130 miles of prime forest stages. Service at Shelton, and John Buffum is in the lead from Rodmillan, with third place being hotly disputed between Brother Steve in the Nissan 240 RS and Bruno Krivich's Quattro.
They come up pretty fast. They come up pretty fast.
So, 29 minutes.
Buffum has been having problems with his lighting setup and tries a different type and layout in an effort to increase his pace through the trees. Dan Goodwin's rotary engine Mazda is having some essential repairs carried out to the axle, but all to no avail, and he eventually retires.
You've had a couple of problems, Alan.
Punches.
Yeah.
2.
How much time does it cost you?
4 minutes.
So where are you lying now?
About 5. I think I'm going to have to move. I'm going to get squashed by a man here.
All the best.
Don't take all of them.
The road is what you do.
Hey, I've got only...
As competitors roared on through the night towards the finish back at the Tyee Inn, Buffum was still taking the odd second off Rodmillan to consolidate his lead of almost a minute. There was a sizable buffer of over 15 minutes to Steve Miller, but things were a little closer around third place, with less than 2 minutes covering Millen, Krivich and Carter. The final scene to be acted out on the NorWester Rally was a 2-lap race around the perimeter track of Tumwater Airfield, slotted in between a normal weekend race meeting. To be classified as a finisher, crews had to complete the stage, although times didn't count towards the final results, which was perhaps just as well.
44.
Listen, I got to know whether to fly my $40 an hour mechanic up here and take this apart or not.
Which one?
Oh, not us.
Back at the Tyee Inn, the result was fairly predictable. 2 four-wheel drive cars at the head of the pack, with Buffum the winner. Timing problems had knocked the edge off what had basically been a good event, and crews now looked forward to the prospect the following weekend of the bigger and more prestigious Olympus Rally. In between the NorWester and Olympus rallies, there was certainly plenty to keep crews occupied, not the least the opportunity to watch the arrival in Tumwater of competitors on the One Lap of America race, which featured everything from a Dodge truck to a yellow cab. Certainly not to be confused with rallying, this event was the brainchild of Brock Yates, originator of the infamous Cannonball Express race. Tumwater hosted one of only 4 checkpoints on the entire route. Crews were given the next section of the route as they checked out, in the vain hope that it would prevent any pre-event route checking and introduce a more competitive edge to the race. As the Washington State Police issued over 30 tickets for traffic violations, the competitive edge would certainly seem to be there. Sadly, these events do little to enhance the reputation of rallying, and the organisers and civic authorities connected with Rally Week Northwest were quick to detach themselves from the One Lap of America circus. Perhaps in hindsight they may have regretted their decision to host the control in their area. Strangely, the event attracted the likes of Eric Carlson, Innes Island, Parnelli Jones, Bob Sinclair and Walker Evans, who despite voicing their opinion that they weren't really enjoying the race, must believe in the old maxim, there's no such thing as bad publicity as long as they spell the name right. One thing that everyone agrees with about this part of the Pacific Northwest is the natural beauty of the area. There are quite literally tens of thousands of square miles of mountains, forests and streams. The Mount St. Helens volcano made all the news headlines in 1980 when it erupted in terrifying style, destroying thousands of acres of prime forests and obliterating nearby holiday villages, leaving a trail of terror and death in its wake. 4 years later, and things have changed. The volcano is now a major tourist attraction. The fear that it could erupt at any moment, probably as remote as it was on that Sunday, May the 18th, 1980. Olympia is the state capital and stands on the shores of the aptly named Capitol Lake. The Capitol building is a truly magnificent structure, and one could easily imagine the impression it would create if it hosted the official prize presentation for the future World Championship Rally. Its neighbour and joint host for Rally Week Northwest is Tumwater, a smaller city, but no less attractive for that. It is a source of pride to the organisers of the rallies that they enjoy so much support and encouragement from the civic authorities, an essential requirement if the event is to achieve World Championship status. Part of that civic support is from the local police, who provide tremendous coverage in all areas. We ask Frank Hamilton to explain.
Well, during the rally on this coming weekend, we'll be coordinating traffic control and crowd control along the various stages of the rally route. Over the 2-day period on Saturday and Sunday, we'll have approximately 5 stages that we'll be working. In some cases, this will require as many as 80 volunteers to cover all the driveways and cross streets that are involved. Safety is paramount, and to make sure that all the intersections are controlled, to make sure that people don't wander out in front of people. Whenever we work a parade or something like that, one of the things that concerns us is that people get intently interested in what's going on as far as the race is concerned, and they're not watching their toddler or whatever, and the toddler wanders out into the race course. So we have to have people, volunteers, law enforcement explorers, search and rescue people out along the route to ensure that people don't go ahead of the barriers or whatever, so they become a traffic hazard.
Scrutineering for the Olympus Rally takes place once again at the Tumwater High School garage. As the event is under the watchful eye of an official FISA observer, Jacques Rigas, his report on the rally will have a bearing on the future of the event. Things have been tightened up and improved. Last year's winner, Rod Millen, is off at number 1 in his four-wheel drive RX-7. Millen has designed and built this car himself in an effort to get on competitive terms with the Quattro. One wonders how long it will be before Mazda themselves realize the potential of this hybrid machine. Following him at number 2 is John Buffum in the immaculate Audi Quattro. A non-finish last year, making the American even more determined to win this year. It was encouraging to hear Buffum say at a press conference before the event that the Olympus rally was the rally to aim for World Championship status in America. Alan Carter is in his newly renamed Team Techie RX-7 at number 4, the expatriate New Zealander being a somewhat extrovert character, as indeed are the remainder of his team of fellow Kiwis. Alan's car is basically a Group A car, but can still be expected to lead the conventional two-wheel drive class. This includes Guy Light's Oldsmobile, a production class contender that would look out of place in Europe, but nevertheless is driven with great verve by the Michigan driver. The imposing Capitol building is the backdrop once more for the rally start. The weather for Olympus looking none too promising as competitors and supporters gather and the seconds tick away towards the 9 o'clock start. The Olympus is a bigger event than NorWester, but the entry remains basically the same. The only major changes being the non-appearance of Steve Miller, who has a prior commitment on the oval circuit. Making up for this was John Woodner, after Buffum, probably America's best rallying export to Europe. John was behind the wheel of an indecently quick Peugeot 505. The first stage is a circuit around the streets of downtown Olympia, and crews are allowed to run through the stage in convoy a few minutes before the off. The leaders take things relatively easy on the opening stage, knowing there is a long way to go, and that the winner will be the fastest car through the forests, and not through the spectator stages. Some drivers, however, just can't resist showing off in front of the crowds. Doug Shepard was the worst offender in this embarrassing incident, but made it to the finish. The second stage is around the grounds of St. Martin's College. Millen slides wide, but does the job properly at the end of the stage, spinning within yards of the finish and crossing the line backwards. Buffum too goes agricultural. John Woodner not only competing on his first US rally this year, but also giving the brand new Peugeot its first outing. Alan Carter looks impressive and tidy in his Firestone shotgun, whilst Bruno Krajbic is also pressing on. His enthusiasm gets the better of him, however. Gary and Carolyn Eaton in the turbo diesel Peugeot also manage a moment of drama, but are still talking to one another. Dave Goodwin, the ravages from the previous week fully repaired, shows how the corner should be taken, but Richard Kelsey in the RX-7 decides to follow Millen's example. Stage 3 was a flat-out blind along the tarmac road into Rainier, most leading crews managing to clean this stage. Alan Carter's Mazda was fastest through the speed trap on the downhill approach to the finish, clocking just over 93 miles an hour, with the others not far behind. There was another short stage around the streets of Rainier, followed by a brief service halt. Tyre changes were the order of the day, as whilst the first 4 stages were all tarmac affairs and gave the spectators the opportunity to see the cars at speed, the real rally was about to begin, as ahead lay the huge Capitol Forest complex with its maze of gravel roads. Doug Shepard and Linda Wilcox in the Dodge Shelby have survived their first stage drama when they savaged the Olympia parking sign and are now fully repaired and back in the hunt. Gary Diebold, team manager for the Hanson GTI of Kevin Gord and Phil Bain, is having his share of problems. As the rain continues to pour down, Millen's Mazda blasts along the forest track on stage 5, almost 6 miles of punishing gravel through the Sherman Valley. Buffum is hot on his heels and beats him by almost 4 seconds. Carter is surprisingly 3rd fastest, albeit 5 seconds down on Buffum, but beating Krybich by a scant second. 5th fastest was Woodner's Peugeot. Kelsey's Mazda RX-7 and Gene Henderson's Eagle are also pressing on well. The rain has now stopped and the afternoon sun is warming the forest tracks, creating clouds of steam as the roads dry out and create beautiful effects in the depths of nature's wonderland. Disturbing the silence of the forest is the distinctive note of Millen's Mazda as he hurtles into view. The gap between him and Buffum on this stage only fractions of a second, but nevertheless he is still falling inexorably behind the Quattro. Bruno manages 3rd fastest this time, although almost 2 minutes behind the leading 4-wheel drive duo. John Woodner takes 4th fastest, rapidly coming to grips with his new car, even if the power pack is an old one from his '83 car. Carter is right behind him, giving his all, as usual. The big Oldsmobile of Guy Light puts in a very respectable performance on this stage to record 6th fastest time. For the later runners, however, the steep downhill hairpin was beginning to cut up and exact a toll of front spoilers and lights. Only in America could you have a stage called Nuke Site, the road going right past a redundant nuclear power station. Millen is first car into sight, setting fastest time in the process. Next along should have been Buffum, but it's Woodner who appears, setting an identical time with Alan Carter. Buffum eventually crawls into view, with the Quattro's engine sounding far from healthy. This is the last we shall see of the Goodwin Sorensen Mazda, which retires at the next service, as indeed does the Eaton Peugeot with engine failure. The small town of Elmer hosts a major service area for the Olympus Rally, and it is the scene of all sorts of dramas. Buffum's Quattro has indeed got a very sick engine, and despite the attention of his ace mechanic, Salty Sotolano, it will go no further. The Quattro sits forlorn alongside the Goodrich tyre truck, and for the 2nd year in succession, Buffum is out of the rally. The rally is now moving through the gathering dusk via another 4 stages towards a further service halt at Aberdeen. Millen is now firmly in the lead after Buffum's retirement, but there is a ding-dong battle going on behind for 2nd place between Woodner, Krybich and Carter. with only seconds separating them. Competitors arrive back in Parc Ferme at the Tailly Inn and a welcome rest halt after tackling 23 stages. Millen has increased his lead and Krybich is now into second place ahead of Carter. We ask Alan how things are going.
Good now.
What was the problem during the night?
Oh, normal sort of things, bits dropping off everywhere. We had a shock seize up, and we did 5 stages with that seized.
Cost a bit of time?
I'm not sure whether it did or not, really. It was a bit uncomfortable to drive. We had a couple of lights didn't work for the same loop of 5 stages. We didn't work out what was wrong with it either. I think most of the trouble was probably me, getting too old.
So what are the stages like?
They're really good now. They're dried out. They were a little wet earlier on, a lot of gravel on them, but they've run some of the stages through twice. Second time through is a lot of fun. It's really good.
This is the last.
The following morning, and another spectator stage on the outskirts of Tumwater. Officials make sure that spectators are well behind the safety barriers before allowing the stage to start.
Way back in one. Canceling the speed right now.
Millen, despite his massive lead, is still driving as hard as ever, whilst Bruno decides to see just how close he can get to the cameraman with an unconventional approach to the corner. Alan Carter seems to have benefited from a good night's sleep and is hard on Bruno's heels. Woodner tries his best to narrow the gap to Carter, but has probably left it too late. Tim Bendel is proving the star of the rally in his old Datsun, holding a very commendable 5th place overall. Walter Boyce lies second in the production class after a steady, if undramatic, run. Bruce Davis is behind him in the category and looks quite pedestrian compared to the leaders. Dan and Betty Gillian seem to be finding the Eagle a bit of a handful and have a big surprise coming up. The Hanson GTI, holding a place just outside the top 10, receives the cheers from the crowd, which includes boss Steve Hanson. The final for a stage, and Millen knows victory is his if he can make it through the final 11 miles. Bruno gets carried away, but to no avail, as he is over 10 minutes behind Millen. Alan Carter holds third, having opened up a 4-minute gap to John Woodner. The final stage is a spectator benefit in downtown Olympia. Tim Bendel shows the style that has earned him 5th place. 4th, again impressing the crowd, is John Woodner after a satisfactory debut in the Peugeot. 3rd, Alan Carter's RX-7. Second, a delighted Bruno Krybich. And the winner, for the 2nd year in succession, Rod Millen.
Rod Millen and Ardell Thatch are winners of the
The Olympus Rally is recognized as the best event in the American series. At the awards presentation, it received the official sanction from the Sports Car Club of America to be nominated as the country's future contender for World Championship status. The organisers are aware they need to change the format of the rally to bring it into line with the FIA rules, but they are prepared to do this. They have everything on their side: enthusiasm, civic support, miles and miles of prime gravel roads, and total dedication to the task ahead. It is very likely that within 3 years the Olympus Rally will be a major part of the World Championship rally scene.